The Mariners just finished off another sweep, two in a row, this one over the Tampa Bay Rays. Jordan going to talk about everything that happened in this series, including Cal Raleigh going once again. We're then going to talk about possibly extending Josh Naylor, how much we think that's going to cost you, and how the Mariners might try to go about it. We'll give you our FanDuel favorites before we talk about the Baltimore Orioles series starting on Tuesday. Thank you guys so much for watching the real episode 215, part of the Bleav Network and presented by FanDuel. And this is the Jeff Swanson episode of the podcast. Happy birthday, Dad. His birthday was yesterday before we recorded this, so that's why I am not in my normal setup. I'm at the beach, and we're staying in a condo. So hopefully things work out a little bit for this. But yeah, overall, Joe, I can't say I was fully expecting a sweep in this series over the Rays.
Let's go to the beach. Let's get away. What do you mean?
I've been singing that all week.
What do you mean you weren't expecting a series sweep on a Hall of Fame induction weekend with the Mariners' current, history surrounding that, specifically against American League East opponents? What do you mean you weren't expecting a sweep? You're a fool. You're asinine for that one, buddy. Listen, the Seattle Mariners post trade deadline. I mean, we were talking about it on stream a little bit. This is the best team that I've ever seen don the Mariners uniform that I can fully remember. I do not remember 2001, anything previous 06. I don't have a ton of memories about realistically. This is the best team in the Dipoto era and in my lifetime, I think, that I've watched night in and night out. And it's only been a handful of games. And I can confidently say that after a 9-1 homestand where maybe they could have gone 10-0. I mean, they lost the extra innings game against the Rangers. That very much so could have been a 4-game mopping as well. But you sweep the White Sox, the Rays come to town, and you start off game one looking like you're about to get carved up by Drew Rasmussen and the Rays bullpen. And then all it takes is one swing. When Luis Castillo goes 7 innings strong, 2 earned, and the bullpen locks it down as well, only 2 runs allowed to the Rays. They keep it close. All it takes is one swing, and that swing came from Cal, the Big Dumper Raleigh. Home Run Derby winner, AL MVP 2025. Hits a home run in this one deep into the night. Griffin Jax points his finger up like it's going to be caught. What a buffoon. What a silly man Griffin Jax was in this one. But the Mariners do come away with a 3-2 victory in game one on the back of Cal Raleigh and that 3-run home run.
Yeah, someone that we all wanted the Mariners to trade for, Griffin Jackson. It turns out he's helping us even when he's not on our team. So shout out to Griffin Jackson. Cal really needed that. He needed to kind of get going again, and it seemed like in this series, not surprisingly against an AL East opponent, he started to. You mentioned Luis Castillo starting this game. He went 5 innings or 5 hits, 2 runs with 5 strikeouts, and he gave up 2 home runs. We know the home run ball kind of eats up Luis once in a while. And the bullpen was great. You had Carlos Vargas come in and throw a scoreless inning. He got the win in this one. And Matt Brash came in for the save because Andres Munoz was down for the day. Not a whole lot else to talk about in this one. I mean, the Mariners did put together 7 hits, 2 from Randy in this one. Donovan Solano, because of course, right? Because we didn't know what was going to happen with Josh Naylor. Donovan Solano comes in, goes 2 for 3.
Yeah, he
does.
Because
of course he does. J.P. Crawford 1 for 3, and Cole Young went 1 for 3 in this one. Felt good about that one. Felt like that's definitely a game you should win. Game 2, especially because it was on Ichiro's number retirement day, I was like, I don't love the Mariners' odds to win that one, especially, Joe, because it was Logan Evans on the mound versus Joe Boyle.
Not Joe Doyle.
That's right.
Joe Doyle. Yeah, I definitely penciled this one in as a potential loss in my head. But the Mariners offense, they said, I don't care that Joe Boyle throws 90,000 miles an hour. I don't care that he's the most obvious project arm for the Rays to turn into a future potential Cy Young candidate. Let's tag 6 on him by the 3rd inning. 2 home runs by Julio early in this game, a 3-run home run by Cal, as well his 2nd game in a row with a home run. That slump busting home run in the 1st game, it might be paying dividends over the next couple of weeks here. It got a little close. Logan Evans, 5 1/3, decent pitching. Caleb Ferguson comes in relief, and then unfortunately gives up a home run to Junior Caminero. I talked about it on stream. The move made sense. Caminero has reverse splits. Yep. It's just Ferguson made a bad pitch throwing a middle fastball up in the zone at 93-ish miles an hour to one of the best pure sluggers in the game today. Like, that's simply just what happened. He missed his spot, I think, and Caminero made him pay for it. Brought the game there to a 6-4 score line. Bullpen after that, though, locks it down. Bizzardo an inning and a third, electric. Gabe Spire, 2 innings, gets the lefties out of the top of the lineup. But then Munoz, after having a day off, does lock it down. Gives up a hit, gives a walk, but strikes out 2. Shout out Munoz for preserving this one. Another victory here for the Seattle Mariners. I didn't get to watch the majority of this game. Similar to the first one, I was working for a lot of it. But, I mean, winning on the Hall of Fame retirement night, like, that's awesome. Like, the vibes are astronomically high.
In that game, Cole Young went 0 for 0 with 4 walks.
Yeah,
which
you
actually
want to say
raised his
over.
Over. He went over. Which raises WRC plus above 100. So now everybody in the Mariners lineup has a WRC plus above 100, which I don't know if that's happened in my lifetime, to be honest with you, like, to end a season. I don't know if that's happened. It felt good for the Mariners to go out there, especially after the great speech that Ichiro gave, for them to go out there and win a ball game and win it relatively handily in this one. Going into game 3, you're like, okay, can the Mariners get another sweep? If they would have just won the series, I'd be happy.
Mm-hmm.
Adrian Hauser, newly acquired to the Rays, on the mound. And this one was all Mariners early, Joe. 4 runs before recording an out. Cal Raleigh hitting another home run, tying him with Johnny Bench for the second most by a catcher in a single season in all of baseball history. He's only chasing down Salvador Perez. And now and if he gets there, he will stand alone with the most home runs ever hit by a catcher in a single season. Overall, I didn't get to catch a whole lot of this game. I know that Brian Wu went 6.
Yep.
I was a little worried there for a second, but he was able to go 6, and the Mariners were able to hold off the Rays, even though Wu gave up 3 runs in the second, or a run in the second, a run in the third, and a run in the fourth.
Yeah, the homies, Prima and Parker, were both at this game. Parker said he felt like the long break in between the first and second inning kind of got Wu off of his rhythm a little bit. Mariners score 4 without Adrian Hauser recording an out in this one. And it felt a little, though, like kind of Mariners scary vibes where the offense is a lot early and then nothing for a while in this one. Rays do play add-on. They scratch, claw, fight back, bring the scoreline to 4-3. But they would score no more, and the Mariners would get 2 other runs late in this game, courtesy of a Josh Naylor home run and a Dom Canzone RBI single. For a little bit of insurance, Naylor securing himself as the Mariner Mojo Smooches Bro player of the game in this one with that home run and a stretch on a play on a throw from J.P. Crawford, stretching out towards, I thought he was going to completely sever in half. And both sides are going to fall apart. Dude laid out for that ball to make sure he made the play on Caminero to end the 5th inning. Brian Wu was fired up about it. That certainly would have ruined Wu's 6 innings stretch, because if something happens there, it's so Mariners that the next pitch was going to be a home run. And everything would have just gone derailed there. But 6 innings, 7 hits, 3 earned, 1 walk, 9 strikeouts for Brian Wu in this one. Caleb Ferguson, a clean first inning of relief. The second inning, not as good, but 1 2/3 out of Ferguson in this one. Vargas comes in and cleans it up, and then Brash slams the door with a 3-run lead to finish off a sweep of the Tampa Bay Rays, keeping yourself within a half game of the Houston Astros, who won the final game of their series against the Yankees today. You're still within striking distance. You do not have a game on Monday. The Astros do. There's a chance by the time the Mariners play their next game on Tuesday that the Mariners are in possession of first place in the American League West. The Mariners 9-1 homestand. I mean, that's just incredible stuff. And Josh Naylor played a huge role in this, even though he missed a game in there with some shoulder soreness. Does come back after missing 1 day with the shoulder soreness. An absolute dog, absolute tough as nails. Colton wants to mute his mic real quick. Hear that little Discord sound? I heard it, bro. Yeah, I heard it. So you can't hide from me, buddy. Just like John Stanton can't hide from us pounding the door, pounding the table for a Josh Naylor extension. I want him for 5 years, $100 million right now. I need him to be a first baseman for the Seattle Mariners for the remainder of the 2020s. Do it. Do it right now. I don't care. A lot of memes about blank checks for Naylor. You have so little depth in the organization at first base, especially after trading Tyler Locklear for his teammate, Gino Suarez. You need to lock down Naylor and keep him in Seattle for the next 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, Naylor needs to be the number one priority, whether that be the rest of the season or once you get into free agency. Either way, he needs to be the number one priority because A, he's proven he can hit here just fine. His profile is perfect. We've talked about that before, even when he was with Cleveland. Mm-hmm. He profiles really well at T-Mobile Park. He needs to be the guy that the Mariners go out there and get for first base because he has that competitive edge about him. I know not everybody's in love with the fact that, he's not smiling. You should smile more. All those people.
You'd be prettier if you smiled more.
Yeah, no, Josh Naylor would be prettier if he smiled more. I don't care. I just don't care. You know what I mean? He's a gamer. He's competitive. He's going to go out there and give it his 110% every single day out there. And that's the kind of guy that you want on a winning baseball team. And I think that adding him to the culture that the Mariners already have, they're hungry, man. And Josh Naylor is, just as hungry as the rest of these guys. 5 years, $100 million, comes out to about $20 million AAV. You and I talked about it a little before the stream. Going anywhere between $18 million and $22 million for 4 to 5 years is completely fine with both of us. I think that he's going to get at least $20 million. I wouldn't be shocked if there was a team out there like the Yankees that would be willing to go 22 plus million. Now, would he go to the Yankees? No, because he hates them. But nonetheless, I think there will definitely be some competition out there for Naylor in the offseason, and I honestly think he'll probably want to go and test free agency. I just hope the Mariners can bring him back.
I really do hope that they are able to lock him down before he can reach free agency. I think that's a pivotal point to bring up as far as re-signing him. If he reaches free agency, obviously the odds just greatly decline as far as getting him back. But in a Mariners uniform, this is not counting today. I don't think Baseball Reference has it updated that quickly. But a 144 OPS plus going into today, or as it stands right now in his time with the Mariners, a 144 OPS plus. Sure, it's very limited sample size. It's either 50 ABs or 54 ABs for Naylor so far in that stretch, but he is performing, he is producing, he has looked every bit of the... No, it's not 54. You stop it right now. He's looked every 54%. Bit... Stop it. Every bit of an everyday first baseman that this team has sorely missed, I think, I guess since 2022 Ty France. Really. Like, pre-Sheldon Noisy running into his arm. Like, we haven't seen as good of a first baseman put on the Mariners uniform. And it's not that bar is necessarily super hard to clear. I think Naylor's a much better overall player than France. And that's no discredit to France. It's much more of a compliment to Josh Naylor. I mean, he has been a perennial ever since he broke out in 2022, 120-ish OPS plus every single year, playing good defense over at first base and bringing overall like that tenacity. It doesn't necessarily have to be good vibes. They can be good when they're winning, when it's going well. But it also seems like a guy that if you're in a slump or the team's going through a tough stretch, someone that can bring them out of it with that mentality that he does have. And I mean, we wanted Christian Walker for 3 years, $60 million. I think getting Naylor for 5 years, $100 million is not an unreasonable ask. And I think with the money that's coming off the books for the Mariners with like Garver, because I don't expect them to do that mutual option. Solano, I mean, Taveras, you're looking at Haniger's money coming off the books as well. Like, yes, arbitration will get more expensive, but there should be money cleared up to sign Naylor. And we talked about it a little bit on stream, whether or not we think that they only have, say, like 30-ish million to play with. If there's any signal to ownership of what a winning culture and winning baseball will look like as far as getting people to the stadium, it's this last weekend. It's this last week. And if they make the postseason, the revenue is just going to go up too. They should have the willingness to spend more. I'm not going to sit here and say that they will because they've never done that. But if there was ever a time to really commit to it and lock up a guy like Naylor, maybe even bring Gino back, or you extend a Rosarena as well. Now's the time to do it. Or even extend Logan Gilbert if you want to. You do a position player, and a pitcher. Like, I don't care. But there's definitely lots of guys on this team that should come as a priority to the ownership and front offices, retaining as part of the core group for years to come. But like you mentioned, I do agree. I think Naylor should be priority number one, given cost. I think he'll be relatively inexpensive compared to some of the other guys that you might be having those conversations with. But also, the lack of depth at the position within the organization should be a huge, it should be a huge signal to the ownership and front office that, okay, we need to lock this guy up. So we don't have to worry about shuffling the rotating door of first baseman again. Just get him there. And then forget about that position for the next 4 years.
Yeah, when you look around this, the way the Mariners payroll is going to be next year, I think it was Moonlight on Twitter that posted it. It comes out to roughly, just with some projections that they had for arbitration eligible guys, it comes out to roughly 130-ish million for the Mariners payroll next year, including pre-arb and arbitration guys. That Mariners going into this year, I think we're at 161.
Okay.
They obviously added a little bit throughout the season. We'll call them at 170. I don't know what it is right now. Do the Mariners have $40 million a year to play, or next year to play with? It's certainly possible. They might, and especially with, John Stanton and all those guys seeing what's going on right now, like, oh, ding, little light bulb goes off, right? Oh, you add good players, team plays good, more people show up.
What?
That sort of thing. They could go out and re-sign Naylor, because I think Polo has a vesting option, right?
A vesting option for $6 million if he reaches 450 plate appearances. It's $8 million if he reaches 550. I don't anticipate him reaching 550. He'll probably fall somewhere in between. But also, it's a mutual vesting option, so I think he could very well decline it and then go seek out a larger contract elsewhere, because this is a kind of a prove it year for him, where, I mean, he's putting up like a 115 OPS plus, or maybe it's higher than that. Sure, he's like mainly a DH only, but there's definitely going to be a team out there that can use that.
Right, and Cole Young is obviously your second baseman moving forward. I think that's pretty clear at this point, and just with how well Cole has played so far. So yeah, you can re-sign Josh Naylor to that 5-year, $20 million a year contract. Then you probably focus on Logan, trying to re-sign Logan to some sort of extension.
Sure.
Obviously, you got Cal last offseason. I don't think you have to worry about George.
Yeah.
I think he's gone.
Sure.
And when you have Cade Anderson coming up now, obviously Bryce Miller and Brian Wu in that rotation, you have Luis for a little while, unless they decide to trade him. Like, George might be expendable. And if you're not going to sign anybody to an extension, I'm pretty sure it's him. So maybe if you just focus on Logan or Naylor, like you mentioned, and if Polo comes back, great. If not, oh well. You know what I mean? That kind of opens up more spots actually for maybe like Dom Canzone to be your DH next year or something like that. So yeah, I think that with where the Mariners payroll lies going into 2026 and how the Mariners will probably make the playoffs this year. We'll talk about that here in just a second. I think that this ownership group should be willing to spend a little bit more money to make sure that where they're at right now, this window stays open for as long as possible. Because this is a team that, with the core they have right now, with the players on this team, Randy, Julio, obviously, you have Cole Young playing really well, JP, Cal in his prime. This core can go to the playoffs for the next 4 or 5 years, like easily, in my opinion. And odds are, at some point during those 4 or 5 years, they could play in the World Series. Like that, with this team can certainly do it. Could be this year for all we know. And it turns out, in the American League, Joe, the Mariners have pretty good odds to play in the World Series this year.
They certainly do. Playoff odds on FanGraphs kind of came out today. And the FanDuel odds as well reflect those updates on FanGraphs. Make the playoffs percentage for the Mariners at 94%. Win the division at 51.4%. And then win the World Series at 9.8% over on FanGraphs. for the Seattle Mariners. They have a higher chance to win the division, according to FanGraphs right now, than the Houston Astros, who, I mean, the Astros have held the division. The West has ran through Houston. Is this the year where tides take a little bit of a change? Over on FanDuel, the World Series winners odds. The Mariners currently possess the best odds in the American League to win the World Series. Granted,
Crazy.
they're tied with the Tigers and the Astros. Before the game today, the Mariners are at plus 1,000. The Tigers are at plus 1,100 and the Astros are at plus 1,200. They've all now joined together at the plus 1,100 crowd. FanDuel has the Dodgers at plus 260, the Phillies at plus 600, and the Brewers at plus 1,000. So Mariners coming in right there, fourth best odds, tied for fourth, I guess, as far as World Series winners are concerned. I think I agree with that as far as them being relatively favorited coming out of the West with how deep the pitching staff can be and the way that they added to the offense and how, you mentioned it, WRC pluses 1 through 9 are all over 100 now. There's not a real hole. And sure, some guys are going to have down games, but that's the beauty of when your lineup is that deep. Not everyone has to contribute night in and night out. Like Gino is having, sure, like some tough games. There's going to be offers with 3 strikeouts in there. He had a 2 RBI single at the beginning of this game, and the Mariners would have only won by 1 run instead of 3, if not for Gino in this one. And they would not have scored and gotten to Adrian Hauser as early as they did without Gino in that one. So some stuff to kind of take into play there. Like you mentioned also, like you think that the Mariners have the best lineup in the American League. I don't disagree. And I think a lot of that is being reflected in the chances for the Mariners to make the postseason, win the World Series, win the West, etc. As far as winning the American League pennant, to be the representative, not win the World Series, but be the representative for the American League on FanDuel, the Mariners have the second best odds behind the Tigers. Tigers are at plus 390. The Mariners are at plus 430 and are tied with the Astros at plus 430. So it seems like it's Tigers and then whoever comes out of the West. Like if the American League Championship Series comes down to the Tigers and whoever comes down out of the West is like where odds makers are kind of seeing those favorites kind of line up, because the Blue Jays are at plus 440, even though they're winning the American League East, currently have the best record in the American League. The Yankees are at plus 600 to come out of the American League, and the Red Sox are at plus 700. So some favoritism, maybe no longer East Coast bias, some more favoritism to the West for whatever reason. And then American League West winner over on FanDuel. Before the game, the Mariners were actually the favorites. They were at minus 110. The Astros were at minus 105. Those have shifted. And the Astros are now the favorite again, which goes against FanGraphs. FanGraphs has the Mariners still as the favorite. FanDuel, however, has the Astros at minus 125 and the Mariners at plus 105. So still plus money to take the Mariners. It's a small margin for plus money, but with the Astros winning the series against the Yankees, I mean that helped their odds be more favorited. But the postseason picture in the American League is a lot of fun. Like it's truly the last 5 weeks going to be absolute cinema when it comes down the stretch. The last like 40-ish games. I do want to mention a couple other stuff, like a couple other things here on FanDuel. I had the Rays spread at plus 1.5 for the first game of the series, which meant the Rays win or the Mariners win in a 1-run win. If you tailed that for whatever reason, you won some money, courtesy of me. Not gambling advice, because the Mariners did win with a 1-run victory there, courtesy of Cal Raleigh. On Sunday, there's not any lines or anything out for the Baltimore game yet because it's on Tuesday. I don't think they make anything more than like a day out. Like, we won't see anything until Monday. Yeah. But Sunday versus Tampa Bay, Cal was plus 255 to hit a homer. Did that. Josh Naylor plus 600 to hit a home run. Did that. Brian Wu was looking at it, one of my favorite plays of the day, if people were to get in on it. His strikeout line was set at 5.5, which felt low. And I don't know if it's the Rays don't strike out a ton or really what the line makers were doing there, but 5.5 for Wu. I saw he had alternative strikeout lines on FanDuel. And if you just click on like other wagers, go to like alt lines, you can find certain things like that. and it was Brian Wu 5+ or 6+ strikeouts, 7+ strikeouts, 8+ strikeouts, 9+ strikeouts. Once you got to 7, you started earning plus money. And I noted it down that I loved Brian Wu at plus 7 or more strikeouts at plus 154 odds. He hit 9. That would have been, I mean, if anyone took that, again, you made some serious coin more than likely with how the plus money was going there. But shout out FanDuel, presenting sponsor for the Hit It Here podcast. Remember, gamble responsibly, do it for fun, but remember, make sure you're being careful with it because it can be a dangerous thing. And that's the ultimate thing that FanDuel wants to kind of hone in on is make sure you do it responsibly. But Colton, we got a Baltimore Orioles series to talk about here.
We have a Baltimore Orioles series to talk about on the mound for the Mariners, who, I just talked about George Kirby, against Dean Kremer in this one for the Orioles. Kremer has a 4.35 ERA on the year with 110 strikeouts, and Kirby has a 4.04 ERA on the year with 83 strikeouts. Looking down the line here, the only, they've actually seen Kirby quite well. Adley has a home run off of Kirby. Ryan Mountcastle hit a homer off of him. And, of course, Gunnar Henderson hit a homer off of him. Looking at Dean Kremer, though, I think to be expected, Randy it has 2 home runs and 9 at-bats versus him. J.P. Crawford has a home run versus Kremer. Josh Naylor, homer versus Kremer. And Julio, a homer versus Kremer. So this might be a game that might be a little bit more high-scoring, Joe, than I think you would regularly anticipate at T-Mobile Park.
Unfortunately, it's not at T-Mobile Park.
You're right.
It's in Camden. So
You're
maybe
right. It is in Camden.
Maybe it's an expected result, especially with how the Orioles have been pitching this year. Bottom 4 team ERA on the year at a 4.88 team ERA. That is absolutely brutal. Not what you wanted to see out of them. But given how that organization has kind of treated pitching, especially in the offseason, letting Corbin Burns go, I don't know. I mean, hindsight's 2020. He got it. He had to get Tommy John. But regardless, the pitching in Baltimore has been atrocious. And the Mariners have a team ERA a full run better than them with a 3.81. Overall, on the offensive side, we know the Mariners' offense has been good all season long. A 110 team WRC plus. The Orioles currently sit, where are they at? I can't even find them. They're so stinky. 97 team WRC plus, 20th in all of baseball. Below league average offense, traded away some of their parts this deadline with Ryan O'Hearn and Ramon Laureano on the offensive side. I mean, I think George has pitched better as of late. I don't know his home road splits off the top of my head. I'm going to find them out very quickly for you, specifically in 2025. But we know that the Mariners pitching staff in general just doesn't pitch as well on the road. But the offense, I think, usually can carry, kind of make up some of that ground. George has a 4.96 ERA in 6 starts on the road this year. One of those starts, I mean, he did strike out 14 in Anaheim on the road. So it's not necessarily a guarantee that he's not going to pitch well, but an ERA touching 5, not great. But again, the offense usually, I mean, it does play better on the road just because they don't have to worry about getting Marine layered. And with how hot Julio's been, Cal breaking out of the slump, the lineup being deep 1 through 9, this is a great series to, one, you have an off day, continue a 7-game win streak, and continue to kind of chip away at the top of the American League, because you find yourself with the 4th best record right now. You win this series against Baltimore, where the Red Sox and the Astros are playing each other. You have a chance that you could take over the Astros and separate yourself from the Red Sox if you continue to win and they beat up on each other.
I didn't realize they were playing each other.
Mm-hmm.
That's good for us. I mean, they played the Yankees last, right? So,
yep.
Yeah, I like this little stretch of games the Astros are in right now for us specifically. Game 2, Logan Gilbert on the mound versus Trevor Rogers. Now, Rogers has been pretty good this year. He's 5-2 with a 1.44 ERA with 54 strikeouts. Logan, we all know he's been pretty decent recently. He has a 3.35 on the year with 118 strikeouts. Rogers is a left-handed pitcher. So I'll be interested to see if that changes the lineup at all. I really don't think it should change it much. Maybe Polo plays second base over Cole Young if they don't want him to face him, or maybe I don't know. Dylan Moore's not going to go play right field. I'm not sure how it's going to work out, but Nonetheless, when I look through the lineups from Baltimore, the only one person in their lineup has hit a home run off of Logan Gilbert, and you would never guess who it is. I'll give you one guess. Go.
Can I look at their lineup?
Sure. Well, go find their lineup while I talk about how the Mariners have done off Rogers. So,
Okay.
off of Rogers, Randy Arozarena is 3 for 6 with 2 home runs. He had 2 home runs versus Kramer as well. This might be a big series for Randy. And then Donovan Solano is 3 for 4 with a homer off of Trevor Rogers. So the Mariners have seen Rogers a little bit, not a whole lot, but they have seen some success against him. But Joe, who you got in that lineup?
Is it someone that starts for them? Or can
I
you
don't
not
know.
say? Okay.
He might be.
My
He might be starting for them.
My guess would be Dylan Carlson based around the way that you were saying that.
No.
Is it
It
Alex
is.
Jackson?
No, it's Greg Allen.
Oh, okay. Got it. Is that former Cleveland outfielder? It is.
Yep.
Whoa.
Yeah, he's a career 228 hitter with 11 home runs in his career. One of them was off of Logan Gilbert.
That's awesome.
So
he is playing center field for them after Cedric Mullins got traded to the Mets. So that makes sense.
Yep. So that makes sense. So yeah, I don't know. I feel good about the Mariners facing a lefty. I feel like this lineup is better equipped to face a lefty than it was going into the deadline. I think that Naylor obviously is fine versus lefties in my opinion. Gino, can hit versus lefties. So I feel better about where this lineup is at now than I did, a few weeks ago.
I'm not going to sit here and say that I'm confident going into a start against a guy that's got an ERA below 2, because Trevor Rogers was awful for the Orioles last year. It looked like that was going to be a lose-lose trade for them. But now it looks like it's shaping out to be a bit better for them. Against Logan, I mean, it's hard to say that Logan has a favorable pitching matchup here, just with how well Rogers has pitched on the season and how the home road splits do affect the Mariners pitchers pretty significantly. That might be the game that you'll pencil in as, yep, that's going to end the win streak, and that's okay. All good things must come to an end at some point. What matters, though, is winning the series at the end of the day. And the Mariners have a good chance to do that in the final game, where I unfortunately closed the wrong Fangraphs tab, so I don't have the pitching matchup readily available, except for in this very moment where it is Luis Castillo versus Tomoyuki Sugano. So, all natural, baby. All natural.
Well done.
So, a slight hiccup in the Baltimore Orioles preview was that prior to recording, we did not see that Divish had tweeted out the probables for the Orioles series. The Mariners have reslotted their rotation. It will no longer be Luis Castillo, which we talked about in this segment of the podcast. It is now Logan Evans versus Sugano. And we expected Evans' last start on Saturday to be his final one, just based around the innings pitched so far for him this year. He has he has reached his max from the previous season. He has passed his total innings pitched from 2024 now into 2025. So he is starting on Thursday, with Bryce Miller making a third rehab start for the Tacoma Rainiers on Wednesday, aligning them to be on the same days off schedule, which should then signal that the next start Evans would make, assuming Bryce Miller's start goes well, that Miller will then take over Evans' spot in the rotation, mainly because of the innings pitched. And Evans, he's had great moments on the road. He's had some not so great moments. I would have preferred Evans to pitch against the Orioles, though, than, say, against the Mets or the Phillies. So I think that if you're going to have Evans start one of those games, the final game against the Orioles is not a bad one to do, giving and allowing Luis Castillo to pitch against a more formidable opponent in the Mets. More than likely, he probably starts the first game of that Mets series since they have reslotted. So the final part of the podcast here is going to look a little different. Yeah, and I am. Thanks for having me, by the way, Joe. I am hopeful that the rehab start, the third one for Bryce Miller, looks more like the first one than the second one. Second one was not as smooth. I mean, it's hard to be better than 4 innings, 6 strikeouts, and no runs. It's a little bit harder to. It's hard to match that level again, but In his second rehab outing, the velo was still there for Bryce, and if it's still there, over 80 pitches for Bryce in that third rehab start with the Rainiers, getting Bryce back for the second half, I guess the last like month of the season will be a very welcomed addition to the team. But again, Evans has done his job so far this year, and if this is his last start with the team, I mean, a pretty successful rookie campaign given the expectations of where he might pitch this year. I don't think he expected to make as many starts as he did at the major league level. Opposite Sugano in this one, Sugano's got like a 4.24 ERA on the season, and over his last couple, his ERA is over 5. I think over his last 7 starts, his ERA is over 5. So maybe the early season luck, I guess, because he was pitching pretty well when he first started, like when the season was in its infancy, I guess. He was pitching better than I think he was in the second half, and he's got a 9-5 record on the year on a pretty bad Orioles team, which is kind of surprising that he was able to, I guess, win that many games. But Sugano pitched against the Mariners when they were in Seattle earlier this season and pitched well-ish. So the Mariners' revamped lineup, I think, should give them a better chance to win this game. Even though it is not Castillo and it is Evans, I think Castillo does give you a better chance to win just in general, but I don't think that this is necessarily another loss, if you will. Like the Rogers and Gilbert's game is a bit tough, but with Evans pitching against Sugano, there's still a good chance to win, mainly because how good the Mariners' offense has been and just in general how poor the Orioles are as a team. But again, thank you, Joe, for having me on as just kind of like a late replacement here since we had to do some amending to the original conversation. Not Colton. The pleasure is always mine. Thank you for joining us. And back to the originally recorded podcast.
I just really want to see that win streak number on MLB, like MLB at bat, to get to W10 and they're 10-0 in their last 10. That's just what I want to see because it just hits the dopamine receptors. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Feels good. But like you mentioned, every good thing must come to an end. And we saw the 14-game winning streak come to an end, a couple of years ago. This one, maybe they can, if they can stretch it to 14, which would be 7 more wins, then they are basically, I would lock them up to be the West winners.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Unless somehow the Astros also win their next 7 games, which I don't think is going to happen. But we'll just have to wait and see. Again, the Mariners have an off day today, so enjoy it. Go out, go do something. I'm going to be driving for 3.5 hours, so I'm not going to go out and do something. But nonetheless, we appreciate you guys watching episode 215 of the Hit It Here podcast presented by FanDuel, and go Mariners.